happy Mindfulness Monday. If you're new here, big welcome. And if you're a returning Mindfulness member, welcome back. Before we get into it, I want to remind you about our other PD Health at Home virtual programs. Each week, we offer sessions tailored to support people with Parkinson's and their care partners, including Mindfulness Mondays, Wellness Wednesdays, Fitness Fridays, and our expert briefings, as well as our Spanish language series, EP Salud en Casa. Be sure to visit our website to see what's coming up and explore archived videos on YouTube. This week's Wellness Wednesday will be a unique and uplifting experience that blends the timeless beauty of Shakespearean poetry with the healing power of breath, voice, and creative expression. We'll be guided by a skilled creative artist. This session invites participants to gently activate their breath and voice through simple, accessible exercises. I know it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be culminating into the recitation of a Shakespeare sonnet. You can learn more about upcoming virtual programs and register at parkinson.org/pdhealth. And today we welcome back Dr. Taylor Rush from the Cleveland Clinic. Taylor, thanks for guiding us into mindfulness today.
Thank you so much, Krista. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all today. So I saw someone say it was sunny but cold, and I would say here in Cleveland, it's sunny and kind of chilly, which is nice because it was a really hot summer. I'm not a huge fan of hot weather, so I am embracing some of the chilliness that's coming with our transition season here. So I thought today we could talk a little bit about something that I see many of my patients with Parkinson's struggle with, and that is moments of freezing and hesitation when trying to move. And so I will sometimes get referrals from our neurologist, and the reason for referral oftentimes is off-related anxiety. So when people are wearing off their medication, they start to have some anticipatory anxiety about their wearing off symptoms. And oftentimes that can include freezing episodes. And then I'll have other patients who they have freeze episodes even outside of off times of their medication, and they can be incredibly unpredictable, which is really frustrating, discouraging, stressful. And, people will say it's just, I'm telling my body to go, but it's just not cooperating, even when my mind knows exactly where I need to be. And I'll often see that there are some patterns to this and outside of just medication on-off periods, but also people may notice it more when they're in busy environments. And we know some of that is because you're trying to multitask, you're trying to pay attention to what's going on around you, and there might be a lot of movement and a lot of sound. So we can see it happen, especially in like big box stores, or in moments where there's increased pressure, like having to cross through a crosswalk at a busy intersection and knowing I got to make it to the other side before that light stops, blinking. Or people will say, when I'm feeling stressed in any capacity, or maybe I'm really tired or fatigued, I may notice more freezing. Another time is when people will be in enclosed spaces. So they may notice it when they're trying to walk through a doorway or get in and out of an elevator. So a lot of different scenarios where freezing can become a bit more noticeable or problematic. And then once it happens in a certain environment, a lot of times the brain then maps that environment to the idea of freezing. And so we can have a little bit of a conditioned response where it's like, last time I tried to, cross this road, I froze. So then there's this expectation that if I try to cross that road again, I may freeze again. And sometimes that expectation adds to one's anxiety, which then may actually make it more likely for one to freeze. And so we really want to make sure that you feel as empowered as possible when trying to navigate these situations. And it's not that freezing is your fault. You're not bringing that on purpose. And I don't want it to make it seem like I'm saying that. It's basically that this internal brain mechanism of your go signal it gets disrupted. And so it's almost like a traffic light that, is green and then it suddenly turns red, even though you were expecting it to stay green. And so, it's not a situation where you blame yourself for being too anxious or you're not doing the right thing. There are physiologic reasons why this is happening. We just want to make sure that there isn't any fuel being added to the fire, and there are some tools that you can use to help manage this. And so we know that there are some things like external cueing. So people may use rhythm or counting or imagery that can help to kind of jumpstart movement. And I think when you can combine something like this with a mindful attitude, you can reduce the stress that often can then perpetuate freezing or make it worse. And you can instead try to approach these moments with some curiosity, with calm, with openness, and a recognition of choice of how you can focus your energy. Because again, with mindfulness, it helps to invite us to gently pay attention to the body as it is in the moment. And so often, what I hear from my patients who have freeze episodes is that they're like, I just need to do this. I need to get through this. I need this to be over. And so there isn't a whole lot of recognition of the moment. It's what needs to happen next. And how do I get this over with? And so being able to sometimes even notice small signals before movement, noticing the breath, the pressure in your feet, sense of balance, or even just a tiny wiggle of a toe or a finger. We can then start to carve out some space between that hesitation and how we're able to respond so that it's not just a situation where one feels out of control and there's nothing they can do. So instead of forcing and fighting, we can allow an opportunity to pause and reset, and hopefully then be able to move with a little more ease. So let's do a little bit of a guided practice with this. And so it's going to involve a little bit of imagery and a little bit of envisioning a situation where you may experience a freeze. And for some people, they may not experience full freeze episodes, but they may experience some moments of hesitation or moments of rigidity where it's harder for their body to work in real time in the way one has come to expect. So in any of those scenarios, you can paint a bit of a mental picture for yourself. So let's bookmark that for a moment. Let's first get a bit settled into our space. And you are welcome to close your eyes. You can keep them open and find a soft fixed point a few feet in front of you. Find a comfortable and supported position. So if you're in a chair or couch or wherever you find yourself today, just making sure that you feel supported by that furniture. And you can let your hands rest at your sides, in your lap, and whatever feels most comfortable for your body right here, right now. There's no one right way of doing this. And as you begin to get settled in your body, just want you to link to the experience of your breath. Noticing your breath as it comes in through your nose, your mouth, as it travels down your throat, expanding in your lungs, and observing the breath as you exhale. Just allowing yourself to connect to the breath, which allows you to connect to the moment right here, right now. knowing that all of your worries or to-do lists or their life distractions can take a back seat for right now. You can let them float to the other side of the wall from the room you're in. They'll still be there later. As you continue to connect to your breath, consider elongating the breath just slightly. Maybe breathing in for another second or two, and slowly breathing out, maybe for an extra second or two. Really feeling the power and energy of the breath as it moves throughout your body. And as you do that, noticing the areas where your body is connecting to the furniture beneath you. Maybe you can feel your feet supported by the floor. Maybe you feel your back just against the support of the chair. With each breath, maybe you notice your shoulders start to soften, your facial expression also beginning to let go, allowing the abdomen to release. Really creating an open channel between your awareness and your body. And we're going to try to strengthen this over the next few minutes. Again, connecting with your feet, not just necessarily noticing the pressure of the floor beneath you, but maybe you notice any warmth or cooling sensations. Maybe you notice texture of sock or perhaps bare feet on a rug or smooth floor. Just really paying attention to what each toe and bottoms of your feet may be telling you. And slowly consider moving your awareness up your legs, noticing your shins, your knees, your thighs. Maybe noticing any areas that may feel tight, heavy, and noticing any contrast of warmth and coolness. Maybe some areas that feel relaxed. And shifting attention to the hips, the lower back. These very vital body parts that help to carry you forward. Just noticing what's there. The pressure of your sit bones in the chair. Feeling of balance in your hips. And as other thoughts inevitably arise, you may notice some feelings of discomfort or frustration or a wish that things were different than they are. and it's completely natural. Just when you notice it, label that thought process as thinking, say thinking, and then return to the awareness of your body. Again, as we know, freezing often is accompanied by tension. And in this moment, you're simply observing your body. You're learning your body signals to create connection. One moment and one breath at a time. Now let's dive into a little bit of imagery. I want you to imagine a space where you are trying to prepare to take a step. And maybe that's a step down a hallway, maybe that's out in public, maybe that's even just a step to transfer from a bed to a chair. Just before visualizing yourself moving, pause for just a moment and feel that pause. And briefly invite a cue to support you moving. That could be silently counting 1, 2, 3 with your breath. Or even visualizing that there's a line on the floor in front of you. And you can imagine that you're stepping over that line with ease. Or maybe even just silently saying that word, step, to yourself as you inhale and then exhale as you move forward in your mind. With any of these, one may feel more fitting than the others. And I just want you to notice what may feel natural for you. Again, there is no right or wrong way. It's just experimenting and being curious as to what feels helpful. Just knowing that if and when hesitation arises over a freeze episode, cultivate that pause. Allow yourself to stop for a moment before you try to move. Take a breath, connect to your body, use a cue, and whether it's counting, something visual, something that you say to yourself, like step, and then move. Each pause you give to yourself in those moments is a gift. And it may feel like it's taking an eternity when really it's just a matter of seconds. And each pause is just a new opportunity to begin again. Just remember, you can say this silently to yourself. I can pause. I can reset. I can move forward with patience and compassion. I can pause. I can reset. I can move forward with patience and compassion. Go ahead and let's take one more deep breath in, really trying to expand the lungs from the top all the way to the bottom, allowing the belly to expand. Slowly exhaling. Again, creating the sensations of your feet on the ground. Maybe even noticing how your body feels now in comparison to when you started. Slowly introducing some intentional movement with shoulders, hips, wiggling fingers and toes. And when it feels right to do so, bringing your eyes back to a more active awareness in our room here. Okay, starting to see some eyes. Welcome back. So, as always, would love to hear more about people's experience today. I know sometimes envisioning freeze episodes is not the most calming procedure, but the idea being you become more comfortable with the edges of the things that are sharp. How do we start to create a little bit more dullness by understanding them better and what we can do in those scenarios better? And so, that can be a tall order sometimes, but I think that I've been working with you guys for as long as I have. I know you're up to the task, so I'd love to hear in the chat how this was for you today, because again, it's hard. And with a lot of the people that I work with, I would say that when we work on anxiety surrounding freeze episodes, it's one of the more challenging things that people end up having to work on. So this is no small task by any stretch. And I think, it can be, and actually I'll put this in the chat just so, because I know that sometimes when I do anything with a mantra, you guys ask for it. So I'm just gonna chat. Um, I can pause, I can reset, and I can move forward with patience and compassion. Okay. So let's see. I don't know if we're having maybe any issues with getting folks back into the chat. I think it's on. Okay. Um, so I think that again, this one can be challenging, but I'm also wondering not only just what you guys experienced today with this, but is there anything else that you guys do that helps when you are in moments of freeze? Anything that seems to be of benefit? Um, Oh, did see one message from someone as forced to sit still for 30 minutes during a busy week is great. Force might be a strong word, but I would say that I think it's a choice that you make to give yourself permission to sit still for 30 minutes, right? No one's twisting your arm to be here. You're doing this for you. And so, well, yes, it gives you some structure to kind of put the world away for 30 minutes. you got to give yourself some credit that you're here at your own volition. And, the gift of that comes from your choice. Mm. And you guys are, let's see. Let's see. Oh, I guess the chat is still closed, is what I'm hearing. So I'm not entirely, yeah, because usually you guys are pretty chatty. Okay, here we go. Oh, now they're coming in. Okay. So people said that it was very relaxing. Thank you. It was very calming. And which is, I'm glad to hear that. And I hope that you guys then can also recognize that even when we're envisioning uncomfortable circumstances, there can be ways to be able to meet it with some compassion and some grace and some peace. And so it is almost an exposure strategy of sorts, but we can do so in a very safe manner. And someone had said the permission to let oneself pause is important, and that this can be encouraging. Someone said, I repeated, right now I am here, which helped to bring peace, especially in the midst. It sounds like they're going to be getting surgery next week. So, yeah, sometimes in those moments of anticipation, right? And so that can be nice to be here despite knowing that something is coming that we may have to confront. And someone said, I try to take a deep breath and relax when I have a freeze episode, which is, yeah, again, easier said than done sometimes, but certainly can be helpful to practice. And the more you practice it, the easier it gets to some extent, or at least the more intuitive it gets, I would say. And someone else said, it's helpful to do a guided exercise because I can be impatient and distracted. Oh, yes, all of us can, right? And this environment is helpful to create calm. And someone had said, I always have a hard time with meditation. I keep thinking about other stuff. And that is completely natural. I think, we all tend to think about other things in the midst of moments of when we're just trying to focus on one thing. Other things just start coming in. And I had someone give this analogy in a group last week, which I thought was really good. They said, you have to think about your brain like a puppy. And if you're taking that puppy for a walk, it's going to try to, get off the sidewalk, and it wants to sniff every blade of grass, every flower, every, chipmunk, everything. And so realizing that, and then, you try to bring the puppy back on the sidewalk, and eventually it trains, but it takes a while. And our brain is very much the same way. And let's see, if someone said, I was told to shake my hands like I'm shaking something out in the midst of a freeze. And that's usually what I tell people too, is find something volitional that you can do. So, it can be wiggling your nose, it can be, moving your pinky toe, but just doing something that you can focus on then can kind of help the body warm up to it. And then someone said, I never like to have a freeze, but I look forward to saying step and taking a deep breath. Yes. Yeah, I certainly don't want to invite it any more than we have to, but at least that way you have some tools to your advantage. And Let's see. And so Michelle, and so I usually find that I freeze at thresholds. I found going backwards gives success. However, I appreciate the suggestion about verbalizing step, and I'll try to use that in the future. Yeah, so going and for a lot of people, it's forward movement is harder than moving backwards. And I don't fully understand the physiologic mechanism of that, but that's true for a lot of my patients. And so I think sometimes if you're at a threshold and it is an even surface backwards and you have the right support where you can safely take a step backwards and then move forward, I think sometimes that does give it's a good strategy for kind of getting unstuck. So let's see. And then someone had asked about being a caregiver and how I can be the most help. How can I focus on anticipating so that I can be physically helpful or just supportive and compassionate and letting them work through it? feel like we could have a whole conversation like that, and we're already a minute over, but I would just say that it's important to have that conversation with your loved one up front and making sure that you share an expectation. And normally it's if they cue you asking for help, that's when you help and whatever cues then you may help them with. So if it's 1, 2, 3, or help take a step or visualize or whatever it may be. But usually I say and have that conversation ahead of time as to what your role is, and then have them make sure that they're the ones telling you when they need the help, because otherwise you're constantly anticipating something that you're not sure that they want or need. And that's a whole lot of work on you as the caregiver. So have a shared expectation up front. And so, okay, now we're 2 minutes over and Krista's looking at me, so I'm going to let her wrap us up here.
I wasn't gonna end you too early. There's so many good questions, you all, and really that's a testament to your bravery and also safety and feeling heard in this space. So thank you for the questions. And Dr. Rush, thank you for taking some extra time to answer some of them. Time and time again, as I've been weaving through these webinars and programs that we do here at the Parkinson's Foundation, communication is like at the center of a lot of the suffering or the challenges that we go through. And so recognizing that we need to communicate our needs. We also need to ask what our person expects or wants from us as when it comes to support, what feels supportive and what's not supportive. And I'm also recognizing this beautiful muscle called the voice that we all that I could be strengthening on my own. So thank you, Dr. Rush, for inviting us through this mindfulness practice of moving through freezing. It's difficult when we experience it. It can feel embarrassing, and using these tools at the grocery store, wherever these episodes might happen. Will be beneficial for so many. So thank you, Dr. Rush, for bringing this conversation to mindfulness and in this atmosphere. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be live again next Monday, September 15th. Again, live next Monday, September 15th. And if you have any questions in between, don't hesitate to reach out to the Parkinson's Foundation's helpline. And we have a website, lots of information about freezing that does go deeper into the physiology behind freezing, and more to come. So until soon, my friends, be well, keep moving, take a breath, and then step. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.